about to go racing here at Pembrey for the final time. The 5-second board is raised. Revs are rising. Lights go out. Away they go. And Michael Roots at this time did make a reasonable getaway. This time is tucked in there into second place behind Richard Webb from pole position. Paul Smith carrying a lot of speed down towards Hatchetts. Is it too much speed in the Mattel? Well, he's got the place away from Ryan Yarrow, who started a position ahead of him on the grid. Can he hold on to it now as they come through Spitfires and DeBenny? And the answer for the moment appears to be yes, he can.
Yeah, so they make their way through this first lap of 15 minutes of S1000 racing. So quick, these cars, and they will get around this lap in about a minute. Such is the speed of them. And it is led then by the unbeaten man this year, Richard Webb. So he heads the pack from Michael Roots and Paul Smith and Ryan Yarrow and Dan Clues and Paul Rogers. Those six, quite a long way ahead of anybody else. There is Paul Rogers returning this season. He's got their cars in front running a little wide, particularly Ryan Yarrow was well out over the curb there, coming out of Honda, and that means Dan Clues is attacking. But Yarrow's brakes so late defending, he gains a place, he goes past Paul Smith, which was quite remarkable there, and Dan Clues got a good watching brief of all of that, so they're back into grid order really, aren't they, with Ryan Yarrow now getting back ahead of Paul Smith.
So Webb it is that's leading, Roots in second, so he's having his strongest race of the weekend so far, helped of course by getting the car off the line in a half decent fashion. And Ryan Yarrow up to third. He of course piled the pressure on and led some of the second race of the weekend, the first race of the day. He's got Paul Smith behind him now, and then Dan Clues it is next up in fifth position. But we're watching the two leaders coming through to complete the second lap.
Yeah, and they're going away quickly from Ryan Yarrow, who's got all this pressure being applied to him by Paul Smith. And now Clues is coming involved in this. He gets squeezed up towards the grass. He just about avoids the grass, does he? He locks up, he's on the tarmac, and he's going past Paul Smith. And Paul Rogers fancies a bit of this, and he goes through too in the TGM Spire. Well, how many positions can he get here? Because he's got past Paul Smith, and he's right tucked up there behind Dan Clues in the Mattel Cars machine. And they come through then absolutely together. Some great battle between these drivers. And a couple of times now, Paul Smith has had cars come past him on the brakes into Hatchetts.
Yeah, so 12 minutes of the race left to go, coming towards the end of the third lap of the race then. And it is still Richard Webb that's leading the way. We're watching Paul Rogers go through. Used to race at Contour, did Paul Rogers in the past, making his return to Sports 1000 this season. Just watching Ryan Yarrow go through, and that's Paul Smith giving the grass an unscheduled cut. Probably wouldn't have got away with that yesterday, but he has got away with it today, albeit losing a bit of time. Yeah,
is this going to cause any problems? Because the splitter dug well in there, and we shall see how Paul Smith's race goes moving on from there. Race leaders turn their way through. Here's Richard Webb then in 88, pulling in the car through. I don't think it's quite as lively as it was in the earlier race. We heard he had that misfire as well, didn't he? He was saying. Well, if you want anyone to try and sort a misfire out with these cars, Richard Webb is your man, isn't he? Here, so he leads after on the fourth lap now. But the fastest lap has gone the way of Michael Roots on a 59.43. So he's now going after the race leader here as they glass across the line once more.
59.43 is exactly the same lap time as Richard Webb did in the earlier race as well. So that's still half a second nearly outside the lap record. I thought we'd be nailed on to get a lap record today in Sports 1000. It's not happened yet, Josh. 58.97, the magic mark. Yeah,
that's with Matthew Higginson, who we'll see later in 750 Motor Club events in a different championship. The multiple champion, of course, Higginson. To just show you the development of these cars, sort of hit a brick wall, didn't they, around that time? Well, I guess all the development had gone in and not much more was to come, just little tweaks here and there. where there were big jumps around that period, weren't they, going
well,
into
that was
those
really
years?
when we were moving towards much more of these rear engines. You were still on that crossover where you still got a strong front engine division as well at that time. But now, as you can see, it's really very much a rear engine championship that we have on our hands here. These sort of prototype type machines. That's the 21 car of Phil Hutchins. So he's in 9th place, sandwiched between Carl Austin and Jonathan McGill.
Okay, they come up across the line. Phil Hutchings, still quite new to this Mattel, that he's campaigned now for a few races. McGill breaks extraordinarily late, but that's okay. He gets the car turned in and he gains the place. He gets 9th position away then there from Phil Hutchins. Jonathan McGill has had a best result this year of 6th. He's currently running 9th here, just getting himself past, as we were saying there, of Hutchings, who's ahead of him in the championship by just a point. So over the course of the year, very little has separated McGill and Hutchings, and again today they are together on the track, just behind Cole Austin actually. Cole Austin, who sits in 8th position. He's had a better result this season of 7th. Richard Webb now though is going quicker. He's pulling away from Michael Roots, and he's done a lap time of 59.23 seconds, averaging over 88 miles per hour around this circuit, which of course includes that very slow first corner. So as we've been saying here, these cars very quick, and Richard Webb getting closer to that lap record.
As my old mate Andrew Wilkins used to say, that includes all the corners, not just the first corner, just all of the corners. As he explained how incredibly quick cars at Mallory Park in my youth. They lap Pembrey incredibly quickly as well, and Richard Webb certainly is doing that. 59.23 then. He's now 2.26 seconds clear of Michael Roots in 2nd place. He in turn has got 4 seconds in hand over Ryan Yarrow, who's got a bit 1.5 in hand over Dan Clues. 4th and 5th looks a little bit tastier. Dan Clues and Paul Rogers only about 0.4 of a second between them at the end of the previous lap, and as you see them coming into shot now, there's still only a matter of about 0.4 of a second between them as they complete lap number 7 of the race.
Paul Smith still behind them, so it looks like that grass excursion on U4 isn't too bad for him. Rogers got past Clues on that lap, didn't he? He's up to 4th now. There we see him in 43, narrowly ahead of 8, which is Dan Clues as they make their way through. Spire ahead of Mattel in this particular tussle that's going on. Paul Rogers got his first podium earlier on today. He sits 5th in the championship. Dan Clues sits 7th in the championship. He's had a best result this season.
Oh, but they were squeezing one another, sorry there, Josh, through the Brooklands hairpin. Rogers just about holding on, sorry.
Yeah, 4th is his best result so far this year, and that's for Clues, who's currently 5th, so he'd like to get another 4th here, and he's challenging up the inside there into Honda Curve. We don't see many passes there, particularly in these cars that are so quick. That was fantastic.
Yeah, really nice move that from Clues. Oh, and that's a shame for James Foley. His black and yellow Spire, the ex-David Whale car, that's out of the race, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's a shame for him, because James missed the race yesterday, obviously with some kind of issue, but he's not going to get to the end of today.
He had an off in qualifying, didn't he, yesterday, I seem
Okay.
to remember, so that might explain why.
At least he got out to do the 2 races today, at least start them. So here's the Clues and Rogers battle. And you can see their driver working at the wheel, putting lots of correction into it to get the car pointed in the way he would like it to go. And Dan Clues then just ahead as they go screaming through Carter's Curve and up to Honda. This is where we saw that move a lap ago. And it's Dan Clues then in front now. Pit boards out to the drivers as they cross the line to complete 9 laps of this race, which is still headed by Richard Webb with 5.5 minutes to go.
So what's this going to be, 7 wins for Richard Webb if he can keep hold of it? 7 out of 7 so far this season. That starts to look pretty imperious as far as the championship's concerned. It's pretty starting to look that way before this weekend, to be honest. But he's cementing it here.
But we saw with in the low cost, didn't we? Craig Land was doing the same thing. He was winning every race, and then a bad day happened, and everything goes wrong. The difference, whoa, big from Paul Rogers. He spins out. Yeah, I didn't think he was stopping there at Brooklands, so a big moment there for Paul Rogers. He tied the game in place. He spun out. The difference here for Richard Webb, of course, is it's not just been winning by small margins generally. It's been the quickest driver, getting fastest lap in every race. I think ultimately won by a ridiculously big margin. And that's what's the real thing in this championship. Meanwhile, we see here Dave Watson in the MK Indy, this new RLM engined Cup 200 car that Dave Watson's having his first out. And the first time it's had any kind of race, this car that runs the 1340cc motorcycle engine compared to all the championship cars that run the 1 litre car, the 1 litre superbike engine. And for Watson here, he runs in 12th position overall, the only front engine car out there, sort of taking you back to the days of RGB that we were mentioning earlier, which had front and rear engine cars out there.
Yeah, at Donington it should have in it, there'll be 2 of them out hopefully, Danny Andrew and Matthew Booth, the drivers slated to appear at Donington. And again, it's a triple header, so we're talking about Richard Webb, and if he has a bad day or a bad weekend, if he has a bad weekend at Donington, like Craig Land has had that weekend, that could change things a little bit. That would be his local circuit as well, of course, for Richard Webb, so who wants to do well on home territory.
So also, the other point is there whether Richard Webb could actually wrap the championship up at Donington at the next round.
We'll have to get our calculators out on that one.
He's certainly going a long way to try and be the first champion of the year.
Certainly is. Jonathan McGill and Carl Austin here. Jonathan McGill's picked up a 5-second penalty, so this is a slightly phony battle. That'll be for exceeding track limits. So realistically, he needs to try and get ahead of Carl Austin and pull away from him.
Coming past the commentary box, so you can tell the different note of the Watson MK Indy, the bigger engined car. Potentially not producing the power of the superbike engines though. But yeah, we're hoping to have more of those as time goes on. As you say, the number of them should double at the next event.
I think the theory was there'd be about 4 seconds a lap slower, and that's sort of borne out in the lap times in this race. Richard Webb's 59.23, David Watson's best time at 103.04. So yeah, roughly 4 seconds slow around this Pembrey circuit.
Yeah, that's a good prediction there from Richard Webb at the beginning of the weekend. And his lead, by the way, now is 3.8 seconds over Michael Roots. 3rd is Ryan Yarrow, a long way back now. 4th is Dan Clues, 5th Colin Chapman, 6th Paul Smith. So Colin Chapman's got past Paul Smith recently. And of course they're both past Paul Rogers, who had that off. And then in 8th position here is Cole Austin. On the road in 9th is Jonathan McGill. And 10th for Phil Hutchins, with a couple of laps to go at the end of this one for these cars. Already at the end of the lap is Richard Webb as he continues to push on. Guess the shame for Michael Roots was that he didn't make the good start in the race where Webb had those issues.
Yeah, could have snuck a win there, couldn't he, Michael Roots, which would have been the first man to beat Richard Webb this season. Phil Hutchins now tracking Johnny McGill as they go through Carter's there and towards Honda. Just watching Carl Austin, but did Hutchins get through? Yes, he did do that at Carter's, so Hutchins goes ahead of McGill now up into 9th place on the road.
Roots, Webb sideways there, he's pushing on still, isn't he? 2nd place for Roots with Insane. He's had a bit of a problematic season. I think he had some issues at Oulton Park where he didn't really get much of a run in either of the races, and that's dropped him down the championship table a bit, currently 6th. But apart from that, he has been getting seconds at Croft in particular. So he's been like one of the better drivers in the championship, but had those issues.
Just behind the commentary box, the number 9 car, Ian Hutchinson has spun out of 11th position at Debenny, but he's got going again. That's not that far ahead of the leader, Richard Webb, who is on to his final lap now. There he is. He's just lapped the David Watson MK Indy.
Yeah, so Webb now working the final lap. The car was moving around a little. There's Roots, who's 2nd in the Mattel, 2nd last year, 2nd on another occasion this season. That's one of the earlier Spires out there, isn't it? Daniel Ashby, great to see some of the earlier cars out there, and with a new driver to race in there. You saw the novice cross on the back. But for Richard Webb, it's going to be win number 7, it would seem, Ian. Checkered flag being prepared here.
Yeah, he's heading through Honda for the final time. Up to the checkered flag he comes at almost exactly 15 minutes, and he takes the checkered flag to win round 7 of the RLM Racing Sports 1000 Championship. Michael Roots comes home in second position, 3.74 seconds behind. And then Ryan Yarrow, quite a distant third actually. He didn't seem to have the pace that he did in the earlier race. And he takes third position in car number 1. Dan Clues, after that good scrap with Paul Rogers for much of the race, he takes 4th place in number 8. Over the line, 5th place is number 63, Colin Chapman. Paul Smith, after his grass-cutting moment, is going to be 6th in number 14, and Paul Rogers takes 7th after his spin up at Brooklands earlier in the race. And we'll tell you in a moment the results of the Gas Shocks 116 trophy race, which has now been confirmed. So we'll look first at the results of the Sports 1000 race. That's a win for number 88 Richard Webb. From number 2 Michael Roots in second place, the gap between them 3.74 seconds. In third place was number 1 Ryan Yarrow. 4th to number 8 Dan Clues, then Colin Chapman 5th in 63, Paul Smith completing the top 6 in 14, then Paul Rogers, Carl Austin, Phil Hutchins and Jonathan McGill. And further back, Ian Hutchinson with a spin towards the end there, and then a lap down, David Watson even, and Daniel Ashby. James Foley retiring from that RLM Racing Sports 1000 Championship race. Before we head downstairs and hear from Johnny Palmer, let's tell you about what the aggregate results of the Gas Shocks 116 trophy was. Those have now been published, and I can tell you that the winner there was number 42, as we thought it probably would be, Chris Warburton, completing 59 laps with a time 1 minute 43 seconds ahead of Anthony Seddon, number 5 in second place, despite his spin. Peter Keane, 151 third. Louis Woodward, number 87, fourth. The 209 car of the Abrahams, or just Will Abraham as it turned out, in fifth. Treble 7, Mark Sullivan and Sam Carrington Yates, Josh.
But that was a crucial spin there for Anthony Seddon, because he would have been a lap ahead.
Yes, he
of
would.
Chris Warburton. So that's we thought that was a crucial moment, and it turned out to be that way.
So congratulations to Chris Warburton on his return to 750 Motor Club action, getting the verdict in the Gas Shocks 116 trophy race. And I think that aggregate result is very much a fair result as well. Let's head down though to the pit lane to hear from the RLM Racing Sports 1000 drivers with Johnny.
Richard Webb already in position at the end of that last of the weekend RLM Racing Sports 1000 Championship races. It'll be the second time I've caught up with Richard. Finishing second, Michael Roots, Ryan Yarrow completing the podium. Ryan's Spire just pulling into position now. And Richard's having a quick chat. Let me give you that first of all. Near perfect conditions now. I've had to wait all weekend for them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was it was nice to get a second dry race of today. Conditions were great, and that was a far more happy race for me. We've solved the misfire, still not quite there with the handling this weekend in the dry, but we got done what we needed to do. So.
And generally about a 3-second gap back to Michael, which I suppose was manageable even through traffic.
Yeah, it was manageable. I would have liked to have carried on pushing a little bit harder. I think the car has got more in it. We're just struggling with the rear end this weekend. So, but bottom line is we've got the job done. We've got the points in the bag again. So,
pleased the misfire was so easy to solve. Well done. So we'll move to Richard's right-hand side, or his left-hand side, to the number 2 car, Michael Roots. 3 seconds adrift, and you couldn't quite get close enough to attack after he'd made the break.
No, not at all. I was just glad to get off the start line, to be fair. It had pretty good pace. But I'm just glad to have finished in a representational sort of position, to be honest.
Has it been a trying weekend, particularly yesterday with the poor weather?
Yeah, for lots of reasons, and at home. So hello, kids and Sarah. It's been quite a tough weekend, to be honest.
It must be quite tough for Father's Day being away from home too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but we're all in the same boat, I suppose. But the kids also miss us, I suppose. Yes. But yeah,
this will be for them. Second place for them to end the weekend.
Yeah, no, I'm happy enough with that, I think. Good. Thanks.
Good. So are we. Congratulations. Nice to have a Mattel on the podium as well. And hopefully Ryan is still, yes he is, Ryan's still here. What did you say before? A fat man from Yorkshire or something? He's done good again, hasn't he? Third place?
might be all right. There it could. No, I'm not really happy, but yeah, I tried to kind of build on what I did before. It didn't really work. The car was good early on and then went off again. And yeah, I mean, Paul got by me at the start, so then I kind of had a lap of, I just lost touch, and it was just difficult then, because obviously the harder you try, most of the time the harder you try, the further backwards you go, and that's basically what happened.
Maybe some head scratching to be done between now and the next round. We wish you well with that, Ryan. Congratulations on a podium nevertheless. And we move forward now for the final race of the weekend, the K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Championship.